What's up, everyone? It's Tyler McKinney back here again, and today we're going to continue on our series looking at the XFL Coaching Staffs. If it's your first time here, hey, glad to have you. If you're a return viewer, thanks for coming back, and thanks for watching more videos. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and let's get started here. Today we're going to look at the New York Guardians, and all of that starts with Kevin Gilbride. Now, if you know Kevin Gilbride, if you haven't, it's not a big deal. You will after I let you know what this is. He was, for about 10 years, he was the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. And that was, in their recent heyday when they won their 2 Super Bowl championships. Kevin Gilbride was the mastermind behind that offense and the one that, led that Eli Manning-led offense. So, the guy is a great offensive mind. And the fact of the matter is he's been coaching since the mid-'70s. I mean, he's coached CFL and coached NFL, dabbled in, some college stuff. The man has been around. And the man's been really doing good offense for a very long time. He was also the offensive guru for Warren Moon there for a little while when, in the early 90s, when Warren Moon was, really throwing the ball well and doing really well, especially in the 90s when it was more of a run game, dominated by the run game in that. And so with Warren Moon doing what he did, it was kind of a big deal. So as I go down through this coaching staff, let's go through and let's look at the offense. Now, the first thing you're going to realize with this offense is that they do not have an offensive coordinator. So I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if Gilbride is going to be the one actually calling the plays and the one running the offense. So as we look at this, he's got I guess he goes, it's George Mangus. I guess he's going by G.A., G.A. Mangus, and he's the quarterback's coach. And, a lot of these guys, don't know a whole lot about. He's a younger guy, kind of a little bit of experience probably coming up. And that's probably why they don't have an offensive coordinator. And I would imagine that that Gilbride's going to be the one that's going to be taking control over here with that. So when I look at it, you've got Mike Miller, who Mike Miller is going to be the receivers coach. And if you've kind of paid any attention to Mike Miller was the receivers coach for Fitzgerald and Baldwin when they were in their heyday, when they were throwing the ball around. I think that was with Wisenhunt and when they had Kurt Warner there, kind of got his second wind there, and they were slinging the ball around there with the Cardinals. So I think that that's pretty cool. He was the passing game coordinator there, and I'm thinking that you're probably going to see, just by looking at Gilbride's looking at his kind of background, and then also looking here at Mike Miller's background, I think you're going to see a very fast-paced, kind of a hybrid run and shoot / West Coast style of offense that they're going to be running. Like I said, it's definitely going to resemble more of probably like a run and shoot, and it's definitely going to be a quick, fast-paced offense. If you remember back, those Arizona Cardinal teams, they really relied on Kurt Warner's quick release arms and those big wide receivers to really go and get the ball. And so I would imagine, granted, we haven't gone into their personnel on how we think everything's going to line up with this New York team, but as everything's shaping up, I would imagine that they're probably going to run some type of a hybrid between what Gilbride ran in New York and what the Arizona Cardinals ran. The other thing here with Gilbride, and I haven't even said yet, is the guy, people in New York remember him for running those great offenses. Now, granted, things tailored off towards the end, but they know him there, and he's a big name there in New York. So for them to bring him and make him the head coach there in New York is a big deal to me, because he's a guy that's kind of known already to that quote-unquote fan base. Now, I don't know, if it's been enough time, since he was let go, he was fired, from the Giants, that they can kind of, pick him back up. But I think that that's really cool, especially for him as a story coming, full circle and coming back around, to where he really probably arguably had some of the best years of his career. And to come back to that and to touch on that again, I think is huge. So, to keep kind of in that, we've got Ronnie, Vinc, Lark. I apologize about these names, but hopefully these guys will start to, come up out of stars, and we'll start to talk about them and their scheming and how they do it. But he's going to be the offensive lines coach. We got Gerald Ingram, and he's another guy that's was with Gilbride there in New York. So again, New York ties there is, you're kind of seeing that. And, like I said before, he's got a lot of young guys. The quality control special teams is Ray Richlowski. So these guys, as I'm looking at it, a lot of young guys, but a lot of experience too. Some of these guys, like I said, you've got Mike Miller and that. So I would imagine probably Gilbride and Miller, are going to probably, some of the younger guys going to be bringing them up and teaching them up, and probably, I hope, using some of the new ideas from these guys to maybe get this offense fast paced. And let's go ahead and let's just you know what? We'll save that for the end. But remember what I said about, I've been kind of noticing a theme with things. And so I definitely want to come back to that, and I really want to touch on that. So we've got the defensive coordinator now is Jim Harriman. And Jim Harriman, he is another one of those guys that he's been around a lot. And of course, like I said, he has ties to Kevin Gilbride, which is good. I've already said this before with other teams. It's good. He understands the type of offense that they're planning on running, and already used to that. And so bringing him in as the defensive coordinator, I think, is a big deal, because he worked with Gilbride there in New York. He's another New York guy, so they have that New York base. And they're just going to be probably just a regular prototypical pro style, defense. I really don't see anything really standing out. But he's another guy that does have, some coaching experience. The guy's been coaching really since the mid 80s. So he's got a lot of experience under his belt, seen a lot of football, which is really, really good as we're looking at this. And then so kind of a newer guy is CJ Ayu, and he's been coaching defensive line. And if you remember, he was he was an NFL player and an NFL guy, and so he's only been out of the league for for a few years, but he's kind of been bouncing around in some places. But he's kind of been he's been mainly a defensive guy in college and that, and so I would imagine defensive line, college. Again, the XFL is going to be a faster paced game, so I would imagine bringing in this these type of guys I think is going to be good. Again, younger guys, giving them a chance, which I really like. So let's go ahead and let's move down to Chris Dishman, and Chris is a guy that he's a guy that's he was a player, and then he's kind of transferred over to the coach. He's been in both college and in the pros. He's been pretty much just a defensive back specialist guy, which is good. And he's another kind of one of those guys that is kind of went from being a player, transition into a coach. The guy's been coaching for about a decade, and kind of been around a little bit. But I think that. He's going to be probably one of those guys that's going to be kind of middle of the road with experience on this team, because really they've got a lot of guys that are. I was really kind of surprised with just how much experience that Gilbride has brought onto the staff. When I first, because really a lot of these guys I have no clue of, and most of these assistants I've never heard of before I started researching them and looking at them, and he's brought on a lot of guys with a lot of experience and a lot of accolades, really. So I've been really impressed with that, and he's got Kevin Kelly. Bringing him on as the linebackers coach, and Kevin Kelly is another guy with a long history of being a coach. Like I said before, it's kind of crazy. This guy's been coaching since the beginning of the '80s, and he's kind of been around mostly a college coach. Jeff McInerney, and he's going to be the special teams. The special teams coach on defense. So that kind of rounds out the coaching staff. Once I actually started looking at this coaching staff, I actually liked it a lot better than what I thought I would. And I think that New York might be a better team than what we're expecting. Now, we'll go through and we'll look at the talent in another video and that. But I want to get back to that point that I kind of made at the beginning of the video. I'm really starting to see an overlying theme as I look at these coaching staffs and how they're going to be run. The XFL, if you haven't heard it yet, they're planning on running a fast-paced game. This is not going to be slow football. And if you noticed, a lot of the defensive coaches, they've coached in both the pros, a lot of them, and they've also coached in college. And they've got a lot of college coaches coming in here, which I think is a good thing. So the college coaches, especially on the defense, are used to, having a fast-paced offense, being back out on the field quicker, to where I think that they're going to be, more used to seeing a quicker paced offense and things taking less time and being back out on the field quicker and a lot of that. The other thing is that one of the things I noticed is you got a lot of guys with a lot of CFL experience as well. So not only a lot of college experience, but a lot of CFL experience. Now I will say that one of the things that really impressed me with Gilbride is he's got a lot of NFL guys that have been in the NFL, and a lot of guys with a lot of years of experience on his coaching staff. So, but as I look at this, I'm seeing fast-paced offenses and offenses that when you think of fast-paced offenses, whether it be air raid, run and shoot, these are what you're seeing. I mean, these are the guys. And I just think that the XFL is going to take that to the next level, meaning I think they're going to kind of probably, they might be the innovators and kind of start to evolve the game. Whereas like a lot of times, when you start to see something change, a lot of times it'll maybe start in like high school and then work its way up through college, or start in college, like down in the group of 5, or maybe Division II, Division III, and work its way up through, through the coaches and that, and as these kind of coaching styles and these schemes, develop, they kind of work their way up the ranks, so to say. So I would really I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to happen, because I think that the XFL is specifically positioning itself for that. And when I look at the New York Guardians, I think that they're going to be a really nice blend of that. I think that they're going to have enough like old school stability, hard nose, but yet enough of kind of the new school to kind of, bring them in to really, to be really relevant and that with it. So I think that all the way around, I think that, the coaching staff for Kevin Gilbride is really actually pretty top notch. The only concern that I really have is he doesn't have an offensive coordinator. And I'm not a huge fan of the head coach being really involved in the offense, even if he is an offensive-minded coach. I don't like it. I know that it has succeeded at places, and I know they seem to do all right, but over time it doesn't seem to work out, and it always seems that the coach ends up giving those roles over to somebody else. And that's kind of how I see this happening, and I would like to see it happen. And it might be that, he's grooming up the quarterback's coach or the wide receivers coach, that Mike Miller might be able to be the one to step up and take that role, as the seasons go on and as they progress. But really, that's kind of my thoughts and what I think. Like I said, a lot of these guys, I really didn't know a whole lot, when I first got started with New York. But at the end, I kind of was pretty impressed with the team that he's put together for his coaching staff. But the question is what do you think? Do you like this coaching staff? Do you not? Do you think that New York is just going to be terrible, or do you think they're going to be the best team in the league? I want to know that down in the comments. And if you haven't, and if you've got suggestions, I'd love to hear your suggestions on new videos, on maybe some new content and stuff. I'm always up for suggestions, and you guys come up with some great stuff. All right, well, I know that you're busy and know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.